Right, good evening and welcome to Hot News. We are live on Pan-African Television. We are also live on Facebook at Pan-African Television as well as YouTube at Pan-African Television. You can join in the conversation by sending in your views, comments and contributions on our WhatsApp through text line. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. You can as well share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. Tonight on Hot News, we are discussing the internal wranglings in the Convention People's Party. You know that recently there have been a lot of issues, in the party where even the General Secretary of the party is said to have been interdicted and all of that. What might have occasioned that? Not just that, but even prior to their internal elections ahead of the 2020 elections, there were issues. We will delve deeper into some of those issues and would want to find out what has occasioned the interdictions that have happened in the CPP. I've been joined in the studio by the national organizer of the party, Moses Ambim Yerimambo.
That's right.
Moses, how are you doing?
I'm fine, my brother. Yourself?
Very well. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You have abandoned Pan-African television.
I cannot abandon Pan-African, where it all started. It can never be abandoned. If you don't see me here, it means due to the heavy loads of the national organizer to put the party together, for it to be a formidable force come 2024. That is why you don't see me here.
Is the CPP still in existence?
Why not? It is very much active and so much resilient than never before. So we are still in existence, my brother. Yes.
Now let's look at the issues
precisely
in the party currently. First and foremost, after the 2020 national elections, how has the Convention People's Party, fared?
Yeah, so after the 2020, I would like to say hello to my fellow comrades watching us all across the country. A very good evening to all Ghanaians watching Pan-Africa this evening. Justice, after election 2020, of course, we all know that the CPP didn't perform so well in election 2020. So the first thing for us to do is to go back and look at our records and look what went wrong with the Convention People's Party. So we did some kind of self-introspection within the party to find out reasons why the CPP had this bismarck performance in the 2020 election. So a committee was set up where we were trying to look at all the issues at hand that affected the fortunes of the party. God willing, the committee has finished its work. We will submit its report to the Central Committee, and the rebuilding exercise starts. So after 2020, it has always been research work, how to get numbers for the CPP, how to get CPP parliamentarians into Parliament come 2024. But sadly, we were bombarded with so many court issues. And from last year around August till now, we have been battling court issues, petitions upon petition, all because of one thing, that our embattled chairperson and the person of Comrade Frimpong Sapon Kuma did not obtain 50+1 of the votes.
We'll come to that. We'll come to the the court issues as well as the interdictions we are hearing about.
Yeah.
But what were the findings from your research?
Yeah, well, the findings are very clear. Some of the findings, as I've even espoused here on Pan-African TV, is resource-wise and logistics constraints. And Justice, what is happening in this country is very embarrassing. And for this one, all political parties and players should take a careful look at. Now, we live in a country where if somebody wants to even be an MP, even from sources from the West Semester Foundation, from their own research, it means that the person will need not less than 400,000 to 500,000 USD for the person to be able to enter Parliament.
If somebody wants to be a member of Parliament in this country.
And these rates are alarming rates. And I believe that we are building a culture where, if you are even wise and you have what it takes to enter Parliament, if you don't have the cash or the money power, there is no way you can enter Parliament.
I see.
And this is a kind of culture we, the Convention People's Party, abhor. And we believe that it's a conversation we should have on a national scale. All of us should come on board and say, look, it is not about the money. It's about the brains and the ability to serve your country. But if you have reduced the discussions and we've reduced politics to about who can pay more, then we are going to face problems in the near future. And this is one thing that has restricted the CPP, parliamentary, because we had very fine candidates in most constituencies, but they couldn't withstand the money power from the NDC and the NPP. And I believe this is something the ordinary Ghanaians like myself and everybody else should look at, so that we start voting on issues and ideas and not on who can give me t-shirts or who can give me any party flags and all that.
Apart from lack of resources, which other things did you, identify as the causes of the CPP's woes, especially when we go for elections?
Yeah, we see one of them, of course, it can be blamed on divisions among the rank and file, where we have issues where we have a lot of senior comrades who are sitting on the fence. People ask you, where are the men? When you talk about men in Ghanaian politics, no political party has a men than the Convention People's Party.
I see.
But unfortunately, most of them are not engaging enough in the party. So people see them sitting on the fence. It doesn't give a lot of confidence to the youth who are upcoming for them to engage and pour their hearts out for the CPP. So I believe that after we found these things, we've made a clear call on all our family members and all those who are sitting on the fence. So later in this year, you will realize that we will launch what we call homecoming, so that we're able to connect back with all our senior comrades who are not actively engaged now in CPP and who have what it takes, who can speak for Ghanaians, for them to, feel that the CPP is with them. So there are a lot of activities lined up for us to be able to bring all those people on board. And if that is done, I'm telling you, there's no force in Ghana politics which can be comparable to the Convention People's Party.
Over the years, we've seen some members of the Convention's People's Party either joining the National Democratic Congress or the New Patriotic Party, the major, political parties in this country. Currently, you have a former member of parliament on the ticket of a CPP being the national chairman of the New Patriotic Party. What do you think might be the reason why some of these resource persons, very useful persons to the Convention People's Party, would leave the party to join other, political parties and all of that?
Well, I might not know their reasons personally, because I don't know why somebody. For myself, I can speak for myself.
Right.
And the conviction I have about the ideology in compromising.
Okay.
I joined the party because I believe in an ideal, and the ideal for me is sacred. And there's no way on earth I can go around and say that I don't believe in this ideal again.
Right.
So I find it difficult when others do that. And that is why I say maybe they might have their own personal reasons why they do that. For me, in Mamo City, it's either the CPP or nothing. Then I can decide then, after CPP, if I'm not happy or I'm disgranted, then to stay somewhere, not to do active politics.
But what is the party doing about persons or a lot of people who are parting with, with the party to join other political parties?
In every political party, there are people
Don't
at every given time.
the party needs to assess it
Precisely,
and probably see what
as I said earlier,
reasons.
those were some of the things we did this year to assess all these things and came to the realization, look, you cannot satisfy a group of people at the same time. There are people at every given time who will be disgranted in the political party. It is up to the political party's machinery and the council of elders of that party to make sure that even if fellows are disgranted, it will not even get to the extent where they will say that, look, I've parted ways with the party. There are a lot of dispute resolution mechanisms we can bring on board to ensure that when members are not happy with the party, we can set up, some senior comrades who can appeal to them for them to stay with the party and trash out the differences. Comradeship is about brotherhood. We are all being brothers and sisters. So for us being comrades, it is difficult to hold a grudge against one another. So with that principle, then I believe that no matter the issue, we should be able to solve it indoor. So that is one thing we are going to bring on board to ensure that the Council of Elders play a major role by ensuring that those who are disgranted come to the table for us to have discussions, for them to also have a way for them to feel part of the family.
Because you look at the PPP, which is formed by Dr. Papa Kwesi Idum. We all know it's a trite knowledge that Dr. Papa Kwesi Idum used to be a staunch member of the Convention People's Party. I mean, he even led the party into an elections in this country before. These are persons, of course. The party could have probably had a conversation or conversations with to come back, at least to have a formidable front into any elections in this country.
Well, Justice,
is the party doing so?
We are. That is why I said in this administration we've thought it wise to do what we call a homecoming. This homecoming will be open to all. There are no restrictions whatsoever. If you have left the CPP for one reason or the other, and you believe that the CPP is truly home, and you truly believe in the ideals of Nkrumahism, I believe our doors are always open. And we've told our brothers in the PPP that, look, you are once part of us. Our doors are always open to you. If today Dr. Indu decides to come back to his house, the CPP, we will accept him. And we've told them, because most of them are our friends. And we've told them, look, the CPP is not saying because you left us, we are going to hold any grudges against you. Today, if they return home, they'll be welcome as a prodigal sons and daughters. So for us in the CPP, we are not holding grudges against anyone who has left.
These people had left, and a lot of people who have not been with the CPP for some time now probably had done so because they were aggrieved. You know?
Yeah, that's what I said.
We've talked about conflict resolution committees, something like that was formed. But have you reached out to these people already?
No,
what attempt have you made in order to make sure that these persons, you know, are satisfied? And
you see, it all begins with step. Acknowledging the fact that, look, there is something to be done is the first step, which we've done. The next step, as we said, we've, you know, put up some dispute resolution mechanisms, which we are going to employ. And one of the key ingredients we are going to use is what we call a homecoming, where without no strings attached, no conditions attached, no matter what has happened, we are calling everybody back home. And now, for us to do that, there are going to be some comrades who are going to be set up purposely for that purpose. And for them, theirs is to move to comrades. They don't need to even call them. All what they have to do is to appeal to them, go to their houses. Wherever you can find a comrade who is disgranted, go to him, talk to him. Let's find common grounds for them to return. And this is something that is going to be in the process from this year right up to 2024 and beyond. Because it's going to be a gradual thing. You cannot win everybody over just within a month or two. Or you can't win everybody over just within a year. It's going to take time, and we're going to initiate that process. And we'll make sure all our soldiers who have been sidelined or who are sitting on the fence will join the battle camp 2024 to make the country so hot for the NDC and NAPP to know that, look, when we talk about the men, nobody or no political party can compare itself to the Convention People's Party.
Now let's delve into, the happenings in the party today. They're told that people are against the executives in the party currently, especially the chairmanship.
Yeah.
They have been espoused, and there have been, suits filed against the party because some people felt that in your internal chairman did not obtain the appropriate, votes to become the chairman and all of that, and so, or the chairperson and all of that. So some persons are in court. Can you confirm or deny that?
Okay, so comrade, yes, I can confirm that yes, we have some cases in court.
Okay. How many cases?
No, as it stands now,
we have cases.
As it stands now, maybe I might say case, and we have one. There was one other which was pending, which the Council of Elders, through a settlement agreement, which we, the executives, the 8 other national executives, and members of Central Committee are saying that we do not agree to. So this is the genesis of the issue.
Right.
We went for an election in 2020 in August.
Okay.
So in August 2020, there was an election where all positions were opened. That is 9 positions, chairmanship right up to the National Youth Organizer.
Right.
And per constitutional arrangement, all the positions, if you want to be a winner, a simple majority, in the exception of 2 positions, which is the national chairperson and leader and the flag bearership.
Right.
It means that for you to be called duly elected a flag bearer or a chairman, you should obtain 50 plus 1 or more of the vote cast.
Right.
Now, we had a situation, even though our elections were decentralized for the very first time because of COVID protocols. Normally, we congregate at one center and we vote. But this time around, we had it regional basis because Allah has said COVID protocols.
Right.
So what happened? There was a referendum to waive that clause, which says that we should congregate at one center to elect our leaders. Okay. So there was a referendum to waive the clause, which says that at every 4 years we should congregate. And people are mistaken. We are mistaking that referendum that we had to waive the clause in the Constitution that says that we should congregate at one center, and that says that we should have 2 different congresses to elect the flag bearer, one, and the national executives. So a referendum was carried out to waive these 2 clauses to enable us to have one election, to elect all national executives and also the flag bearer at the same time. Because per constitutional arrangement, we were not supposed to do that.
So first and foremost,
yes,
in your internal elections,
yes,
you waived a clause in the constitution
precisely
in order to have a one election
for the flag bearer and for the national executives.
So
and the second clause is that we were supposed to congregate at one center. There was also a clause that we waived to enable us to have it at all the regional centers, at all the regional capitals.
In all,
yes,
in all,
yes,
were these executives
yes
required to, you know, have 50% plus one vote in order to qualify for their various positions?
Yes, in all the positions, the constitution talks about a simple majority, in the exception of the chairperson and leader position and the flag bearership position.
Right.
So after the elections, there were 4 people who contested for national chairperson and leader. They were Ajia Hamdatu Ibrahim, Nana Frempong Masapong Kuma, Senior Comrade Odro Kwate, and Comrade Kweku Kwanzaa.
All right. So these 4 persons.
4 persons contested. Okay. At the end of the day, by simple majority, Nana Frempong Masapong Kuma had the highest vote.
But that wasn't supposed to be by
precisely
simple majority.
It was not supposed to be by simple majority. Right. Now, the issue there was that if we had a congregation where we were all at one center and all the polling agents were able to bring their results together, we would have seen it right there and then. But this is a situation where you need to collate with the individual candidate. We needed to collate from the various regions to ascertain what we had.
Right.
So before that, you need to call all your agents, all the 16 of them. You have them, you put them together, then you know your figure.
Okay.
Right after the elections, I was not even privy to this. I just got to know that right after the elections, about just a week after the elections, the polling agent of Ajia Hamdatu, which is Hafiz Mohammed, that is the regional youth organizer of Northern Region, petitioned the IOC, which was led by Senior Comrade Aro Frempong Manso, that from the tally, they realized that the candidate who had the highest vote in the person of Nana Masapong Kuma did not obtain the threshold of 50+1. Meanwhile, she scored 43% of the vote cast. Automatically, that means that there should be a runoff between the first 2 candidates. And this is simple and well quoted in the Constitution. Article 93 E and F of the CDP Constitution.
You have
I have it here. It's a candidate. Also, so I start with D first. No person shall be elected as national chairman and leader who is not qualified to be an elected member of parliament. That is 1. E. A candidate for election of the office of national chairperson and leader shall be deemed to have been duly elected if more than 50% of the members of Congress present and voting voted in his or her favor. This is simplicity. It is very clear in black and white. Now, when that happens, what does the subsequent clause say? F. Where at the election of the national chairperson and leader, there are more than 2 candidates, and no candidate obtains the vote specified in clause E, that is 50% or more of this article, another election shall be held between the 2 candidates who obtain the highest number of votes to select the winner. So this is a runoff between the first person who scored the highest and the second person who also scored the next highest. So per the tally we had, Comrade Frempong Kuma had 900 and something votes, followed by Comrade Ajia Hamdatu who had 700+. So meaning that the 2 of them were supposed to go for a second round. Now, because as I said earlier, the elections were held in various regions. By the time they put the results together, I didn't understand later that night, IGR protested to the IOC that, look, there's a clause in the Constitution that talks about 50+1. But what happened? That the Council of Elders or the IOC couldn't take action. You recall that in 2020, it was a general election year. And we needed to prepare the grounds for election. So some Council of Elders members called the first runner up and tried to explain to her that, look, we're having elections and we don't have what it takes as in resource-wise to organize a rerun. So why don't you allow this to go after the elections? We assure you we are going to organize a runoff.
But that wasn't what the Constitution
That is it. And that was in the clear breach of the Constitution. And when that happened, of course, by then, a lot of people have not reverted their minds to what the Constitution said. So that happened, and there was an arrangement for us to go for the general elections. That after the general elections, there should be a runoff.
But unfortunately, for the general elections as as who, of course, for
the presidential candidate, we had a presidential candidate, the person of Comet Green Street.
Was it a case that you were going into the general elections without the national chairman? Or
well, no, that's the person who had the highest vote to be there to act as a national chairperson. That immediately after the general elections, we need to solve this issue, because to organize a congress is no joke, and to have 2 rounds as we decentralize it is not going to be easy. So the Council of Elders thought that, let's speak to the first runner for them to have an understanding.
Did the first runner agree?
Well, the first runner up, by then, because of the pressure and the existence of the time, of course, will not be the one to say no, for people to know that she is trying to block the progress of the party. So at that time, well, there was a little bit of compromise where other comrades came in to say, look, let's have the general elections. After that, we will correct this error. Now, after the general elections, petitions upon petitions then started coming into the party or coming to the secretariat. There was one from, as I said, Hafiz Muhammad put it in writing. There was one from the Upper West region from Comrade Baladon. There was also one from the IOC chairman who organized the election. He brought a petition to tell the CPP and the Council of Elders and the Central Committee that the declaration that was done on the 22nd of August was in error. That the wrong person was sworn in as a chairperson and leader. So we need to correct the anomaly. So this is where it all started. Then, not long ago, after these petitions came in, one comrade called Isaac Gannon in the Western region took the party to court. There was an injunction.
Why did the national executive, or the neck of the party, really keep quiet on this? Why did they keep quiet on
this? So officially, these issues, during general elections, in every election year, especially during the last 4 or 5 months, because we went to Congress in August. We had September, October, November, December for the elections. So Central Committee, which is the highest administrative decision body making, met only about once or twice. By then, there was no petition. Even though there were arrangements by some Council of Elders members to ensure that we had a smooth sale, so that after the elections, there will be a runoff.
What has the CPP constitution said?
It is clear, black and white, that there should have been a rerun.
Exactly, but where there have been petitions upon petitions.
Yes, as I said, the petitions started coming after the general elections. Yes, the petitions started coming after the general elections. So the petitions started coming, and no long ago we were hit by a court injunction. And the court injunction did not allow us to meet at Central Committee. Now, when those things happened, quickly, we, the national executives present, in a way, wanted to show solidarity. So we decided to take things cool, call the legal affairs and constitutional affairs, how do you call it, committees, to advise us on the way forward. Now, we were told that this was a constitutional breach. And to amend constitutional breach, it is not about any settlement. It is difficult to settle these things, because if the petitioner, the person or the plaintiff who went to court is talking about, look, we breach Article 93 E and F of your Constitution. The only thing to do is to correct it. And in correcting that error, what you have to do is to follow this prescription in the Constitution, which talks about a rerun. Now, we had a situation where some Council of Elder members went to court and told the judge they wanted to come home and talk about the issue. The judge gave them a settlement. So the judge gave them the leeway to do so. They came in-house, and to our ultimate surprise, they put together what we call a draft out-of-court settlement. And we, the national executives, in the absence of CC, we are the functional national executive who can take decisions for the party. They failed to consult us. We just saw the draft, and the draft made certain demands of the party. And we said, no. The Council of Elders, you are not clothed with those powers to do this on behalf of the party. Because per constitutional arrangement, the Council of Elders are those supposed to advise leadership. And it is subject to us to whether accept or refuse their advice. So they don't have what it takes or the capacity to stand in for functional executives or the Central Committee.
Who are the persons within the Council of Elders?
The Council of Elders, of course, are senior comrades who have served in either the CPP government or the PNP government. So we have Comrade Felix Amwa as the chairman of the Council of Elders. And they failed to do extensive consultation. They met, put their own conditions together, went to court with the plaintiff. Now, in this situation, the person in the center of the drama, which was the embattled chairperson, trying to consult we leadership, and we told her that she should not sign those documents because the Council of Elders did not have the capacity to do what they've done, and the conditions they've set thereof, it is not in the interest of the party, so we cannot sign or allow them to go through with it. To our surprise, she even wrote a letter to the Council of Elders to tell them that she is also in disagreement with the out-of-court settlement, just for her to do a U-turn at the late hour, where most we, the other 8 executives, thought that if we rejected the settlement, she went back to sign the document. So we were there, they said there has been an out-of-court settlement and that the CPP's issue has been struck out of court, and these are the conditions. We are supposed to do A, B, and C.
What were the things included in the out-of-court settlement?
Of course, the first thing in there was to strike out the case outrightly.
Okay.
That's none of the parties, either the plaintiff or the defendant, can bring the issue back to court. The plaintiff was an individual, and the defendant, of course, is the CPP. Did
the plaintiff agree?
Well, the plaintiff, through his lawyer, even though we didn't see the signature of the plaintiff, we saw the signature of his lawyer, as reported to be said. Now, when that happened, we saw the conditions that, one, the Council of Elders will ensure that we go to have our constituency elections, our regional election, polling station election by the end of this year. And of course, anybody who knows organization very well at the grassroots will tell you, if you want to do polling station electoral area and all those elections, you can't use less than 6 months to do those things. So we are telling them that, look, the timelines you've given us to abide by, it's not workable, it's not visible, we can't do it.
Polling station elections, constituency elections.
No, polling station electoral area, constituency.
What for? Is it for the earlier breach or for ahead of 2024?
For us to prepare the grounds for 2024. So the reason why the person
what then happened to
precisely that was our point. That the out-of-court settlement did not even address the breach of the article. It was rather talking about other matters which were not in sync with what the person sent to court. So that is why we, the functional executives, said we cannot accept such terms of settlement, and we rejected it. So we rejected the terms of settlement. Then we instructed the legal affairs director of the party, Lawyer Noche, to write back to the court to say that the persons who did the out-of-court settlement did not have capacity to do so. So we, the functional executive, are setting it aside. So it was a risk taken to court to do that on our behalf. To our surprise, there was a meeting organized by the chairperson and some few members of the Central Committee. That is where they came out that they've suspended the General Secretary, interdicted the General Secretary, the youth organizer. Which by constitutional provision, we cannot do that. Because if you want to interdict these two officers, you need to tell some members of Central Committee present. As at that time, they had just about 23, 24. They needed about 34 people to do so. And they couldn't get the quorum to suspend them, which is 2/3. So that is why some of us came out to say that, look, the interdiction that was done was illegal, was bogus, was capricious, and unconstitutional. And it still holds same. Now,
before we come to the issue of interdiction, who is the national chairperson of the CPP as it stands now?
As it stands now, we don't have
a chairperson.
We don't have any chairperson because the last Central Committee that was held just a week ago told the third chairperson, the embattled chairperson, because the issue was that in the first place she did not meet the threshold of 50+1, so she cannot be even referred to as a chairperson. So the decision of the House was to set her aside for us to have a runoff between her and Comrade Hamdatu. And it tells us to do that within 3 months. And we have a Congress Committee chairman in the person of Kwame Jantwa, who is the Political Affairs Committee chairman. And he has started putting his modalities in place. And come with me, in July ending, we are going to have a rerun of this election.
So it means that there's going to be a rerun for the national chairperson.
Yes, because look, the CPP, all is very glaring that Ghanaians are really fed up with the duopoly and are yearning for a third force in the CPP. So we cannot be seen at this crucial moment to be going against our own constitution, where we are in line to rule this country. The people will not take us serious. So we will go by what is in the constitution. Because all provisions in the constitutions are sacrosanct, and we have to go by them. And that is exactly what we are going to do.
Now let's get to the interdictions.
Yes.
Now, what led to the interdiction? Interdiction of
the
General
Justice
Secretary of the party.
Yes, as I said, when we the executive said we were not in agreement with the out-of-court settlement, we called our legal representation, who was also a member of the Central Committee, Lawyer Noche, and told him these are the issues. He said, okay, in the first place, the person who stood in for the party as a party's lawyer for them to go to court to do what they call out-of-court settlement was not the party's lawyer. It was the embattled chairperson's own private lawyer. And when you sue the CPP, it is the legal representation of the CPP, who is a member of the Central Committee, who defends the party, not a private individual. So the person who led us to even negotiate in the first place, to also sign on behalf of the party, that person is alien to us. It is not our legal representation, which is Lawyer Noche, who is a member of the Central Committee. So outrightly, the person who did that on our behalf lacked capacity. So we are saying that based on this, that the elders of the party did not also have the capacity, the legal representation of the party were also no people who were appointed by the party, the court should strike out the out-of-court settlement. And we, the executive, the 8 of us, wrote a letter to our attorney, which is Lawyer Noche, to carry out this instruction to court. It was based on that, based on that letter that we wrote, that the chairperson and leader rallies a few individuals for them to have what they call a CC meeting, which we still call illegal, for them to suspend or interdict the general secretary, the youth organizer, and the first vice president. Just look at the irony of the situation, where 8 people are all signatories to a document, then you choose and pick 3. The justice, what does it tell you? That these are targeted persons you are just trying to get rid of. So we are saying that, look, you can't do that. In the first place, we have what it takes to tell our legal representation to go to court to set it aside. In the first place, we were not consulted. In the second place, the Council of Elders do not have what it takes. They lack capacity to do what they've done. The third one is the legal representation of the party. You, the chairperson or the embattled chairperson, unilaterally cannot change the party's lawyer and take your lawyer to go and do cases for CPP. So that one too, there's lack of capacity there. And based on these principles, we have gone back to court for the court to set aside the out-of-court settlement. So this was our cry.
So currently you are in court for the court to strike out
the out-of-court settlement. Precisely. And we are going back to court on the 12th and the 15th of May, respectively, for these cases. Now, what is happening is that after her illegal meeting that she had, because there was another case in court where the first vice chairman of the party, Nathan Nkrumah, has also taken the embattled chairperson and Ansapor Kuma to court on the same issue of 50+1. And there was a motion of interlocutory injunction against her. And the lawyers thought that a motion of injunction, which has not also been heard, is still an injunction. So for us, we saw that yes, legally she didn't have what it takes to even organize the CC in the first place. So with which powers do you organize CC and say that you've interdicted party executives, national executives, who were properly or duly elected? She didn't have what it takes to do that. So we are in court, one, to set aside the out-of-court settlement and to ensure the party constitution is being abided by. The other thing that happened was that there was another CC meeting that was called that all the regional chairmen were yearning for. In fact, when we invited them, 12 of them were present. 7 of the national executives were present. 1 is not in the country. And all the committee heads came together and said that the decisions of the earlier Central Committee, which was led by Nana Hima, cannot hold because she was not even the chairperson in the first place for her to chair a meeting to interdict officers. So all what happened in that meeting has been trashed out, and we've turned it null and void with no legal effect. So whether it is interdiction, whether they've passed any program for the party, it's all now null and void. But the last Central Committee meeting held just last week. So just as you speak now, their decisions have been passed null and void. We don't have a chairperson and leader as we speak. So automatically, the vices will step in. And in 3 months' time, the party should go back to Congress for a rerun between Comrade Sapon Kuma and Comrade Hajia Hamdatu Ibrahim. As it stands now, that is where we are.
Would you say that the Council of Elders are behind the embattled chairperson of the party?
Well,
looking at...
I cannot say entirely that the Council of Elders, because when you say the Council of Elders, it's a body. Maybe some individuals in the Council of Elders, from their actions and inactions, it's clear that they've taken sides in this battle. It's unfortunate. And in our constitution, as I quoted earlier, these are persons who are given advisory role. They don't have the powers to implement or execute any decisions on their own. It is subject to our approval or that of Central Committee. So yes, it's a worry that some members of the Council of Elders have taken sides.
Would you admit that there's a crack in the party as it stands? There's a division in the party. That CPP is divided.
No, I don't see the division in the CPP, because if you say division, then it means that you would have an issue or an occasion where, apart from the chairperson, she would have had some other support from members of leadership. As we speak, she's on her own, and we, the other 8, are also on our own. When she even brought out the issue of interdicting these officers, all 16 regional secretaries came to the banquet, 30 regional chairmen came to the banquet, and all the bodies of the party, from the youth to the women's wing, came to the banquet. So it could tell you that the CDP is one. The only problem we are facing is with the invited chairperson and leader, which clearly she didn't make the threshold of 50
What
plus
has
more
the
votes.
Constitution said
about
a national executive who misconducts him or herself?
It is clear. If a national officer misconducts him or herself, what do you have to do? It means that the Central Committee should give the person notice that for A, B, and C, you are being summoned to CC. That is the process. When you are being summoned to CC, you will go there to also give your side of the story.
Right.
Even with that CC, they should have 2/3 members present, meaning that 2/3 of the members of CC should be present. 2/3 also means about 32 to 34 persons. When you are present, you make your case, then they refer your issues to the disciplinary committee. In this instance, none of this happened. In fact, in the case of the General Secretary, the disciplinary committee or the CC cannot suspend or interdict her. It has to be NEC, which is a higher body to Central Committee.
Right. But to the CPP, what amounts to an executive misconducting him or herself?
So there are so many issues where...
Would you consider the attitude of the embattled chairperson as an executive who is misconducting herself?
Well, that is also debatable in the sense that, in the first place, if the person was duly elected, then the person will fall under that umbrella as a national executive. In this case, we are talking about a person who was not duly elected in the first place. So that umbrella of being a national executive...
You have admitted on this platform that there were some conversations ahead of the 2020 elections to allow her to be the acting chairperson.
So being an acting chairperson doesn't make you the chairperson. And that is why senior committee
is not still in the position as the acting.
No, as it stands now, the CC has instructed her to set aside, to be set aside.
Right.
And this was a letter from Aro Frimpong, unconstitutional declaration of Akosia Frimpong Kuma as chairman of the CPP. And this was the man who was in charge of the elections.
Okay.
So he is saying that I, Aro Frimpong Manso, a member of the Council of Elders, and erstwhile chairman of the interim management committee, right to bring to the notice of the Council of Elders that it erred in declaring a contestant of the August CPP Congress election who obtained 43% as chairman and leader of the CPP, instead of the 50+1 as required by the Constitution. A report from the IOC on the election indicated that she had 43%, and it was illegal and unconstitutional for her to be declared chairman, for her to hold herself as such. This was from the man who conducted the elections as the IOC. So it is very clear. Even they themselves have realized their error, and he has written to the party's elders and to the Central Committee that we need to rectify this error as soon as possible. And that is exactly what we've done.
Has she understood?
The constitution of the CPP is always supreme. It is supreme to all other persons in the CPP.
Right.
The constitution of the CPP is bigger than Ayir Mamo sitting here and other members. So if she says she will not understand, this is the Bible we are operating with.
Okay.
And we must enforce it. But Justice, I've forgotten one other thing.
Go ahead.
When we wrote to the court through our lawyer that we want to set aside a out-of-court settlement, did you know that the chairperson and leader cited we, the national officers, for contempt, that they should give us prison sentence? And that issue is also in court. When I start, I say cases. And here is the riff.
Okay.
You can go through yourself. You can see the names there.
Right.
You can see my good self. My name being there.
So for the purposes of our viewers,
precisely,
in the Superior Court of Judicature, in the High Court of Justice Accra, AD 2022, Republic versus Onzi Kwame Nkrumah, first respondent.
Yeah.
Osei Kofi Akpa, second respondent. Aisha Futa, third respondent. Nana Yajantwa, fourth respondent, and Moses Yirimambo, fifth respondent.
Yes, so you read the presenter, yes. I read just one or two.
People's Party applicant, blah, 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 in the matter of application for committal of respondents for contempt of court, motion on notice for committal of respondents for contempt, order 50 R1 2 of CI 47, motion on notice by George Ankoma Mensah Esquire, lawyer for and on behalf of the applicant hearing, praying for an order that the respondent hearing be committed to prison for contempt of court for the following reasons. 1, for declaring in writing that they had by themselves set aside the consent judgment of a high court dated and entered on the 27th January 2022 by Justice Audrey Kokuvi Tay. 2, by various publications and declarations published on electronic WhatsApp medium to members of the CPP and the public at large that the consent judgment is bogus, unworthy of respect, and same must not be respected or obeyed. 3, by practically impeding and ridiculing the court and the efforts of the organs entrusted under the consent judgment to carry out the mandate of the consent judgment. 4, the said actions ultimately being an effort to the dignity of the court and bringing the administration of justice into disrepute. So and, it was signed, court to be moved the day of 2022. That's Tuesday, 12 April 2022.
Yeah, so we've gone for the first one. The case was adjourned. Also
thereafter as cancelled for the applicant.
So this case has been adjourned to I think the 19th of May or so.
I see.
Yes, and as I said, what crime did we commit? If council of elders who didn't have capacity to go to court to say that they are going to do what we call out of court settlement, didn't consult us, and we didn't make noise. We called our lawyer to also go back to the same court and tell the court that the persons who came to do the out of court settlement lack capacity. What crime have we committed for our chairperson, the embattled chairperson, to say that we have committed contempt? It's so surprising that somebody who did not obtain 50 plus 1, who is not popular in this party, trying to convict my humble self and my other colleagues for contempt of court, only on the basis of we saying that, look, we disagree with the terms of settlement, which you, the embattled chairperson, agree with us, but did a U-turn at the last minute to go and sign the document. So we find it very surprising that this is a stab in the back, and such traitors should be treated with iron fists.
I have 2 questions for you.
Yes.
Would you say that your embattled chairperson is a troublemaker and she's trying everything possible to foment troubles in the convention?
Well, it says from by their fruits you shall know them. It is very clear that if a person can go beyond all this, beyond comradeship, despite even she being at fault, to cite her fellow comrades for contempt of court, for us to be imprisoned, then it should tell you more about such a personality.
Is it not the case that some of you, the executives, have personal score with the embattled chairperson as a result? You would want to do everything possible to make sure that you see her out of office.
No, we don't have any scores to settle. If you dig further in the party, you realize that among all the executives, people will tell you I'm one of the most closest persons to the chairperson and leader. So if you say you have scores to settle, but what she did rather put our minds back and said, look, then it means that this is selective. As I said, 8 of us as national executive agreed that we should go to court to set aside. But in the contempt case, she chose only 5. What happened to the other 3? Or the others? It means that maybe in her sight, these are troublemakers and people she need to get rid of as soon as possible.
Would you say that there are some unknown faces behind the actions of the embattled chairperson?
Well, we cannot tell. All what we know is that she didn't make 50 plus 1. And the constitution of the party must work. Whether they are invisible hands or not, the constitution of the party is supreme and it must always remain supreme. So for us, our case is simple. We need to go back to what our Bible says. And our Bible, which is the constitution of the Convention People's Party, says, in such circumstances, there should be a runoff between the first and second contender. And in this case, Hajia Hamdatu. And Hajia Hamdatu was put on the spotlight in the Central Committee to say that, look, you were the runner-up. Are you ready for the elections? And she said it's not about her, it's about the constitution of the party. Whatever the constitution of the party says, she is ready for. So in other words, if we want to go by this, our Bible, there is no way we shouldn't go for this runoff. It's a must. That surely it shall come to pass. So
you are saying here on authority as
yes.
the national organizer of the Conventions People's Party,
yes.
that come what may, you are going for a runoff.
Why not?
For the national chairperson.
If we don't go for a runoff, we are in clear breach of Article 93E and F of our own constitution.
You are also
which people will take us serious if a party in waiting to come to government in 2024 or 2025 is in clear violation of its own constitution.
You are also confirming on this platform
yes.
that as it stands, the CPP has no.
Yes, because the letters have been, letters have been sent out to her, to all media houses. I think you will get your copy soon.
Very well.
That she has been set aside, and in 3 months' time there will be a runoff. And that is what the Constitution. We have not done anything at variance with the Constitution. We are just going by what the Constitution says. So we are not saying that we are targeting her unfairly. This is the Constitution of the CPP. It must be respected.
Now let's look at going into election 2024.
Yes.
I mean your other colleagues in other political parties or the other political parties are preparing and lacing their boots towards 2024.
Yeah.
We've seen some of them, going for their polling station elections.
Yeah.
They are preparing for that of constituency and then probably, national and all of that. And the CPP is rather battling, court issues and fighting amongst themselves. How do you prepare for that?
Well, I don't see this as fighting. If people are trying to ensure that the Constitution, which is the legal document binding the party, is working, I don't see it as fighting. Yeah, a fight. If it's a fight, it's a justifiable one. Because the Constitution of the party is supreme. That is what binds with the members of the CPP. Others have taken the lead by doing certain with their grassroots reorganization. We also do the same. We even have the blueprint of how we want to reorganize. But we cannot. This is the same document that teaches us how we are going to do the reorganization, which time frames we are going to use. So if the same document that we are going against is still the same document we are going to use, then it means that we cannot be flouting it and disrespecting it. That is why we are saying that for everything to happen, there should be discipline. For discipline should be instilled. These are the provisions we should follow. When these things are done, I'm telling you, by July, and then when the runoff is done, August, I've started my polling station and electoral area elections. So for me, it is correcting the wrong. As you lawyers, you are a legal guy, you are going to legal school. You say that when fraud initiates all. So for us, it's a simple matter. There's a fundamental breach of an entrenched clause in the Constitution, which needs to be corrected. If it doesn't, whatever we do will be marred with unconstitutionality.
Right. Would you say that the party took a very bad decision ahead of the 2020 elections by, breaching the constitution of the party, to have probably had conversations in order for the embattled chairperson to be allowed to act in the capacity as a chairperson?
Well, that was a very great error, and I believe the Council of Elders members that saw this to happen did a great disservice to the party. And I believe that this thing shouldn't happen anymore. That is the more reason why we shouldn't wait for it to deteriorate. This is the time to correct the anomaly. We've been in court since last year because of 50+1. There are so many petitions with the Secretariat because of this same issue. So this one issue is not allowing the party to progress. That is why the CC of last week made a bold decision to say that, look, even though we know the implications of this, it has been a year or more after these elections, but we need to do the right thing. If we don't, we've created a vacuum where a lot of people will stand up and still go to court because we are still having petitions on 50+1. And people are ready to still go to court based on this abnormality. So why don't we correct it? And the Constitution has spelled it out clearly on how to correct it. And that's exactly what we've done. In fact, the Council of Elder members who were able to talk for time to come down for us to have this arrangement, as I said, did a great disservice to the party. Because if as then they say we should organize a rerun, even though they are resource constrained, would have found ways and means to do that. but they failed to do so. So it's a regret, and I also regret that the party couldn't take decisive steps till now. But it is better late than never. That this is the time we need to correct the anomaly, and the correction is very vital and essential to the growth of the CPP. Without it, I'm telling you, in the next few months, the party might be in turmoil, because I know there will be petitions upon petition, court actions after court, injunction upon injunction, if we don't carry out this constitutional correction.
Right. We've been in a conversation with the national organizer of the Convention People's Party. We are discussing the internal wranglings, in the party. There have been several, lawsuits against some, executives of the party and all of that. And this has to do with some, 50% plus one issue that people have raised, that the current chairperson, the embattled chairperson, has not obtained or did not obtain prior to becoming the chairperson of a party. It has become a whole lot of issues where that led to an alleged interdiction of the general secretary of the party. I listened to the general secretary of the party and said she has not been interdicted.
Of course.
She has not been interdicted. She's still the general secretary of the party.
Yes.
We will try as much as possible to get
Precisely.
the general secretary and then probably have a one-on-one with her on that particular one. But going forward, what is the CPP doing? What are your strategies?
The strategy is very simple. To abide by the constitution of the party, which we started doing by conducting this runoff. Immediately after the runoff, we'll still go by the constitutional arrangement where we need to put our police stations in order. And there's been extensive work, as in research work, done on these things for us to find formidable strategies. Because as I said, when it comes to resource-wise, we cannot compare ourselves to the duopoly. They've amassed so much for themselves and they know the game they are playing with politics. But we should always have a superior strategy. So extensive work and research has been done and it is in waiting. Immediately we do our rerun in July. In August, we are going to implement and ensure that all the 38,000 police stations that we have in this country, we will ensure that CPP is able to recruit people at those centers, so that the days of old where you hear CPP 0, CPP 1, it will be over. And this is something that in the Fourth Republic we find it very difficult to execute. It takes a lot of manpower, a lot of knowledge, a lot of research, a lot of commitment to do so. And this time we all resolve within the party that we have to get the grassroots moving. Immediately the grassroots of the CPP is strong. I'm telling you, it is game over for the NPP and the NDC. And I'm telling you, Nana Frepo should be grateful to us for us doing this. Why? Because all this challenge has been an albatross around her neck. Because if you are in a battle chairman and you feel people don't respect you because they feel you've not gotten your 50 plus 1, and we the CC are saying that we are going to rectify this by organizing a rerun for you to prove yourself and prove your popularity, she should be very thankful to us and call us to give us thumbs up for helping her to clear her name, and if she's popular enough for her to win the runoff. So for me, I don't see why her team or people should be angry or saying that we are taking the party back. They should rather pack us in their bag and say, well done for trying to remove this albatross around.
Is it not true that some of these issues, surrounding the party, are slowing the progress of the party?
Yeah, we see. I don't understand when people say slow. You rather slow the progress of the party if you disregard provisions of your constitution. The constitution is clear, and by so doing, correcting a constitutional breach is rather a feather in the cap of the party for people to know that TPP they ensure that the right things are always done, and that is what we are fighting for. And if it is done immediately, that this thing is corrected, I'm telling you, all strategies have already been lined out for us to do reorganization at the polling stations. Justice, from August, after the rerun, you will see us all around this country trying to mobilize people for the polling stations. And I don't think that it is too late for us to do that. The NPP and the NDC, and the NPP especially, I think this week or next we are doing their constituency elections. The NDC might follow soon. So in August, if you also kickstart, I don't think we are late.
It is clear. It is clear. I've asked these questions on this platform, and especially when people from the other political parties, apart from the MP and NDC, appear on this platform. And I've asked that it is clear that Ghanaians are fed up with a duopoly and they would want an alternative. But they think that either the CPP, PNC or all the other alternative parties have not placed themselves well in order to take over power from these political parties. People are asking you to join forces, unite your front to be able to capture power. Is there any of such conversation going on?
Well, that conversation has been a long-standing conversation. It has been a conversation since times of old, when I was not even born. And these conversations at times end up on the rock because of individual differences and ambitions. But I know one thing for sure. Yes, unity is good, but we need to also ensure that our base is solidified. If the base is solidified, Justice, I bet you, unity is good. We go around, people tell us we should unite forces. But the elementary thing for us to do is to ensure that fundamentally the CPP has a base. Because if you are going into a unity and you have no base, PNC has no base, PPP has no base, then it's a useless unity because none of us have a grassroots base. So we are saying that in the interim, we want to build the base for the base to be solid. If the base is solid and the PNC have the same, PPP has the same, and we are coming together, it means we are winning elections. But if you have no base and we are coming together, it will be a useless unification. So for us, we are in talks with our brothers in the PNC, PPP, and other communist parties, and telling them that, look, it's a gradual thing. We are committed to it.
But they are as well facing the challenges you're facing today.
Yes.
As CPP.
Precisely.
You look at the PNC.
Yes.
They also have some of these legal battles.
But even there's no party in the world that doesn't have this internal wranglings. Even within the NDC, the NPP, within our jurisdiction, they all have their challenges. You understand? So within every party, it is not possible for people to coexist with different ideas and behaviors for us to have just peace. They are not robots. So for me, I know it is everywhere. Right. But we need to control in such a way to rechannel the most positive energies towards building the party. So for the CPP, the strategy is for us to mobilize and get a strong base. When that base is gotten and we come together with any party in the future, it means it makes the work much easier. Because as we speak, there are no parliamentary representation for all these parties. And this is one clear thing we want to fight in 2024 to ensure that come what may, by the end of the 2024 parliamentary elections, the CPP will have formidable representation in parliament. And we've done the research, we know the areas we are going to tackle. And when we enter those areas with the strategies adopted, there is no way we are going to fail. So these are some of the things that we've started doing, and I know it's going to pay off for the party and going to also further enrich multi-party democracy in this country.
Right. Your final words. Let's wrap up.
Well, Justice, today being 50 years to commemorate the death of Kwame Nkrumah, the doyen of Pan-Africanism, the initiator of the African personality identity, I believe that we also need to show respect to the Osajifo himself and give hope to the people of Ghana and Africa.
Right.
Because for so long in Ghana, since 1992, since we've given opportunities to the duopoly, we've seen that they failed us woefully. And all the records of the great Osajifo himself, where even Africans, no matter where they are, were proud to associate themselves in Ghana, has fallen off, where nobody cares about the country Ghana. The Ghana was a heavyweight way back in the 60s. And we've been living on what I call past glories. The respect Ghana is holding today were built or were gained from the struggles of the 50s and 60s, when the CPP government, the great Osajifo himself was in charge. But I believe that has eroded so fast, and we are losing it. And I believe everybody watching me will know that, look, it's either we make a drastic decision now to save this country, or the country goes into another gear where nobody or no youth is guaranteed of a secure future. The future, as I always say, is so bleak that nobody can say that, hey, in the next 10, 15 years, I can see Ghana on this pedestal. There are no developmental plans for this country. The whole thing is out of gear. So I'm saying that, look, this is the time when we are celebrating our father, his death. We should remember that this is an icon of this country and Africa and a global personality. We should remember that the words of Osajifo cannot go down rotten. We should remember that Ghana was once a shining star of Africa, and once again we can get those glory back if we make a very strong and decisive decision of rejecting the duopoly come 2024. And that decision starts with you coming out, no matter where you are in this country, to say that, look, enough is enough. look for the CPP wherever we are. Contact some of us if you have to, for us to build a force to take over this country.
Do you think that, finally,
yes.
before we go, this is my final question to you. Do you think that if the Osagifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was alive today,
yes.
or were to be alive today,
yes.
he would have been happy with the current state of the party, the political party he painstakingly built with his sweat and toil?
Well, Osagifo being one of the founders of the CPP, nobody will be happy if he wakes up today or miraculously comes by. You will say, oh, why? What is happening to my party? It has been rough times for the CPP. In fact, I always say that the CPP is one of the most resilient parties in Africa. If it was a party, it would have gone into extinction. But look at how resilient it is. Look at how it has changed its form from 1966 to now. Look at how some of our members have ended up in the NDC. Some of our members have ended up in the NPP. But still, also, some also with our brothers also in PNC. But still, the CPP is still resilient. This should tell you something. And what we always say, that Nkrumah never dies, the CPP also never dies. So for us, Osagifo will be disappointed on one hand, but in the same vein, you also know that he has left a very resilient party which will never die. So for that, I'm sure of that Nkrumah, no matter where he is assured that since the CPP can never die, there is hope for its revival come 2024.
Thank you so much for coming here, Mambo. We are so grateful for your time. This is our time or our last on the program. Today, make a time with us, same time tomorrow. My name is Justice Appiah, and the show has been Hot News. Goodbye.
Thank you. Good night.